你好。
你好吗？还会说什么？
You got me there.
Okay. Well, that first one was well pronounced. Morning, Sandra.
Hi, good morning. How are you today?
Very well. Here we're in the sunny day, just
Yeah,
blue sky.
yeah, it is nice. Here too. How are you, John?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I worked hard on the weekend, but ready to listen.
Okay. Thanks for joining the class. Actually, some of our friends from India and Bangladesh, they can't join because of midnight, and one of my friends is sick, actually.
I have not done the reading.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. Okay. Okay. Okay, so very good morning. If everybody allow me, so shall we start now? Okay, I think it's the time. I think. Okay, so we are heading to start. Okay, very good morning. So I wish everybody have fine and have a good day. And actually, according to the tradition, before we start our lesson, normally we do the little prayer, just pray to the triple gem and pray to the blessed one and the Buddha as well. So if you don't mind, would you please we just for a moment we just pray. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So actually it means we are praying to the blessed one, the old one, the awakening one. So anyway, so today we are going to start about the Buddha's Mahaparinirvana and or the Buddha's passing away and Buddhist council. So it is actually very important to understand the journey about the historical Buddha, and it can be give you a bit idea that what happened the contemporary time the Buddha passed away, and what happened among his noble sangha, and after his passing away, what was the climax behind the scene. So we use the term here Mahaparinirvana. Let me allow to share the screen. I can show you. Okay. Sorry. Share the screen. Share. Okay. So Mahaparinirvana here, the term we use, Maha means the great, Parinirvana. Normally, the term Parinirvana we use for the Buddha. So here the Buddha's demise or Buddha's passing away, we use the Mahaparinirvana. Actually, the term Maha it arrives many hundred years later, but normally it's the Nirvana or Parinirvana. Parinirvana is denotes as the only for Buddha, and Nirvana is for Buddha and also for other Arahat or other enlightened person as well. So as we all know that the object of the Buddha's teaching and I mean Buddha's practice to become enlightenment or to awakening one and to release from samsaric existence, as we can say that Nirvana. So Nirvana, Ni is a prefix according to Sanskrit and Pali grammatical structure. It means that Ni means like extinction or extinguish or blow out. You can say like something like this. And in the Visuddhimagga, the text of the path of purification, it is one of the wonderful texts. It was written by Venerable Buddha Ghosa in the 5th century. He mentioned Nirvana means like a blowout, like we are blowing out the candle. So we can't see the flame. The flame is disappeared, you know. So Nirvana is something like the blowing out the candle, and which disappear, and thus who has gone, but never return back. So who has gone? That means like he completely released from samsaric suffering or samsaric existence. So as we can be remember the Four Noble Truths, we can as we know that the first one is the truth of dukkha, the truth of suffering, samudaya, the cause of suffering or the origin of suffering, and number 3 is the cessation of suffering, and number 4 the path that leads to cessation of suffering. So number 3 and number 4, the cessation of suffering and the path that leads to cease the suffering, those are guide to obtain at nirvana. So it was for Buddha, we use the term parinirvana or parinibbana in Pali, Sanskrit nirvana or parinirvana. And for Buddha, we always use the term Mahaparinirvana, the great demise. So as you know that Buddha taught all over the India, mostly in the northern part of India for 45 years. So his teaching was very simple, and he taught for general people, for normal people, and also for all. I mean, all the people from the different classes, obviously appreciated the way of Buddha's teaching. So throughout his journey, we can see that as you know that from the text, Buddha, the 16 states are quite known, very well known, and contemporary time of the Buddha, he almost visited all the 16 states, and the teaching became more popular, but in non-violence way. So throughout his teaching, he said that if we can summary regarding to the Buddha's teachings, he said, I taught only two things throughout my teachings. One is the Dharma and one is Vinaya. So it was mentioned in Digha Nikaya, Mahaparinirvana Sutra. He said Digha Nikaya Sutra number 16. It is one aspect. And regarding this statement, he said, in the Dharma or the teaching and discipline, it will be guide you when I will be not there. But in another text, if I'm not wrong, it's from Anguttara Nikaya. Buddha said, throughout my teaching, I taught two main things. One is the cause of suffering, and number two is the cessation of suffering. And my objective to teach you, to guide you, is to understand the nature of mind and to release the pain, lamentation, grief, or the all the samsaric types of suffering. So he was very skillful, and Buddha, and of course that he had along the journey he has a lot of disciples, and many people became very attract to the Buddha's teaching and his teaching method as well, since he was talking about non-violence and compassion, and and following the path of the Buddha, many people start to ordain and follow the monastic life, and which are known as the sangha or monastic monks or nuns as well. So one of the very fascinating things from the Buddha, he allowed the bhikkhuni sangha or female sangha, which was I mean the time that near 2000 years ago, it was completely impossible somehow. But he was the only one pioneer religious teacher, you can say, pioneer teacher, who very who opened the door not only for male, I mean for female also, and females are allowed to became a enter into the sangha. And his stepmother Mahapajapati Gotami was the first female who ordained as a nun. And following the Mahapajapati Gotami, the Buddha's former wife, like when he was a Prince Siddhartha, Queen Yashodhara, she also entered into the female sangha. So, however, that along the journey, there's so many people and so many disciples and so many followers enter into the sangha, and therefore it was a very big community he built up. And throughout his teaching, I mean, he spent the most of time in North India. He has spent most of his rainy retreats. As you know, the rainy retreats is mean like a vasa or vasa. It is about 3 months rainy retreat. So normally, monks need to be observed their rainy retreats. It is during the rainy season. So the 3 months they stay inside one of the kuti or one monastery, and they don't go anywhere. So normally rainy season, it's very difficult to travel at the time. So Buddha was told that every monks should stay the monastery at least for 3 months consistently. So they need to observe their practice and need to report to their teachers and how to observe their Vinaya practice. So Buddha spent most of his rainy retreats in Sravasti. Sravasti is located in North India, of course. He spent nearly 23 rainy retreats there, and he spent his time in Rajagir or Vaishali and Kushinara, and also Malla and Koshala. And this mostly the Magadha and Koshala, these two kingdoms, he spent his all of his teaching careers. So now that when at the age of 80, I mean, he was going from Koshala to he was going from Pava to Kushinara. So one day he called his attendant Ananda that 3 months later I will enter into Nirvana. So Ananda could not realize at the beginning what he said. So Buddha talked about 3 times to Ananda. So then after some time, Buddha called his all the disciples, and he told that, oh venerable Sangha, please accept my demise, and I'm going to enter into Mahaparinirvana, or to pass away 3 months after in Kushinara. And all the sanghas, became very sad that, okay, please Lord, don't leave us, and we will be very sad after you leave. Nobody will be teach us, nobody will be there. So Buddha said that, of course, that I should follow the nature. I should accept the nature of the samsara. I should accept this, the reality. So what is arises is it is perishes. So Bayadhammo Dharma, it's mentioned. Bayadharma Sankhara. So all the things are changeable. So what is arises, it perishes. So I need to be enter into nirvana, and it is a law of life. It is a law of samsara. So death and birth and death, it is normal. But in between birth and death, we have to make our life meaningful. So Buddha was declared that he will be entered into within the 3 months. So these 3 months he taught. So and which is recorded in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. Actually, Mahaparinirvana Sutra from Digha Nikaya, it is one of the long discourse, very long discourse, and which is we can see that. Started from 3 months before the Buddha's. I'm sorry, I think the transmission is a bit wrong. Is everybody okay? Everybody hearing me? Okay, thank you. So Mahaparinirvana Sutra is very long discourse. So it is started 3 months earlier. In the sutra, you can see that 3 months earlier of the Buddha's passing away, and the time Buddha was passing, and after the sequences, what happened after Buddha passed away, and we can see up to until the 100 years later as well. It's very long discourses in this sutra. So in the sutra, the time Buddha was passing, so it was very historical moment, and he was declared his passing away in Vaishali, the state of Vaishali. It was known as one of the first republican state in India. So when Buddha was going to the Vaishali to Kushinara, there are so many followers followed him. And when he arrived at Kushinara, so one guy, his name is Chunda, he was offered he asked the Buddha that and his disciple, please accept my invitation. I would like to offer you I would like to offer you foods. So Chunda was offered some meat of pig. So after eat this food, Buddha did not feel well. He feels sick, and Buddha understood that, of course, I'm going to die very soon. This is my last meal, and this food had a bit poison. Actually, it's mentioned in the. I mean, it's not intentionally. This meat quality was not good. Something like this. So Buddha stopped to other disciple that please don't eat the food anymore, because this food you don't have to. It has something else. So okay, I ate it, and also that in avoiding the criticism for Chunda, because he did not have any intention. Actually, he doesn't know. He was just with warm-hearted and tender-hearted. He wanted to offer Buddha some lunch. That was his intention. Normally, as we do in monks, even still now today. So he said that Buddha gave a one Dhamma talk in this time. He said that the food the Chunda offered, the food before Buddha's passed away, or the food before Buddha's enlightenment, those who offered, they got many merits. So Chunda, you don't have to worry. You got huge merits because your intention was pure. You have good hearted. That's why no need to think that after eating your food, or I enter into I die. So you don't have to think about like this way. And in this time, Buddha also mentioned about intention, about karma. So the term of karma is all about intention. So according to Pali and Sanskrit, we always see this term, Chatanahe bhikkave karman badami. Intention is your karma. So intention can lead you wholesome karma or unwholesome karma. So all are based on every action are based on your intention. So during this period, Buddha gave a little Dhamma talk, and he was ready to enter into the nirvana. And all the as he was entering into the phrase his meditative state, and it says that he has a lion posture of when he was sleeping, and and here is one image actually. This picture is you can see that is from the Kushinara, the place when Buddha passed away. So this is the lion posture. So he kept his left hand on his left hand. He put his hat, and he was ready. And it was his meditation posture as well. And he entered into nirvana, and everyone very upset. Everybody very some are crying, some are grief, but those who are enlightenment, those who is arahant disciple, they're stillness, they're quiet. They said, yeah, we all need to be entered into nirvana, or we all need to be accept the reality of the dead. So yeah, just by following the law of karma, a law of samsaric existence. So Buddha entered into nirvana. Ananda was very sad. Ananda was crying because he was his former attendant who take care of the Buddha for many years, and Ananda could not get actually time, for his own practice. But he was very awakening mind, but was not arahant yet. The time Buddha was passing away. That's why he was crying, you know. And some monks are stillness, and one of the monk, his name Subhadra, he has some critic word to the Buddha. He said that after he passed away, he called all the monks, and he told that, well, at the moment we are free, so we don't have to worry for teacher, we don't have to worry for others. So now we don't have anyone who can speak that, oh, you cannot do this, you can do this, so you have to follow these rules, you cannot follow this way, and no one here for offering the discipline. So he has a bit evil intention actually. He was a lazy monk, this monk was. So having listened this kind of harsh talk, Elder Mahakashyapa, one of the chief disciple of the Buddha, he was think about. He said that, wow, the Buddha just passed away, and the Sangha already started to split. And what will be happen with the Buddha's teaching if we don't preserve it? So we can see the division of Sangha during that time. And Subhadra was not alone. Many monks also followed his idea. He said that they are happy because the Buddha was passed away, and now nobody here to tell them what is right and what is wrong, and we don't have to worry about this factor and that factor. So then what happened to Venerable Mahakashyapa? He was very deeply thinking, and after the end of the former funeral ceremony, you know, and he called all the sangha, all the monks. So Venerable Mahakashyapa asked them, okay, we need to think something seriously. So since Buddha passed away, so we need to protect his teaching. So that we need to get together, and we need to arrange a council. Um, then 3 months after the Buddha's passed away, the first Buddhist council was held, and it was patronized by King Ajatasattu. So in this it is a very historical council and very important council. And you know that that time, the time of the Buddha, it was not very. I mean, we didn't we did not have written tradition, like a no pen or no written, no recorded transmission. So everything should have had a oral transmission. So written scripture did not, it was not appear during the time of the Buddha. It came later on. So it was very serious matter. So somebody need to preserve the teaching, and the council called. In the council, all the chief disciple, all the important disciple were supposed to attend it. And it says that in this council, 500 monks participated. But Ananda was not invited to join this council. It was very interesting initially. Ananda was Buddha's attendant because he was not Arahat yet during that period. Arahat means those who destroy all the defilements, or those who became awakening or enlightenment. So Ananda, he helped the Buddha and he served for the Buddha for his whole life, but he did not get much opportunity to practice. So Ananda could not get get time to practice, so that he was he was not how to say he did not get much time to practice and to contemplate himself. But when Ananda heard that, he was not I mean he could not he did not he was not arahant yet. So he contemplated his mind, and just before the first Buddhist council start, he became enlightenment, and he understood the true nature of the life, true nature of the suffering, and he penetrated the cause of suffering, and he understood the cessation of suffering, and he became arahat. So in the first Buddhist council, near 500 monks are attendant, and it held in the Rajagir. It's very close to the Buddha Gaya. Buddha Gaya and Rajgir is very close to Nalanda University. It is all are in the North India. So King Ajatasattu patronized this council, and in the first Buddhist council, two things are very, very importantly discussed. One is the Dharma and Vinaya. So Dharma means the teaching or the doctrine of the Buddha, and Vinaya is all discipline. So in this first Buddhist council, Ananda recited all the sutra, and it was very interesting. Ananda was known as one of the very extraordinary disciple. He has a photo. How to say this? He's an extraordinary memory, or you can say that photochromic memory. Ananda had, and whatever Buddha said, he everything he could be memorized. I don't know that how is it possible. So as according to the sutra, it mentioned that Ananda like a suti dhara. Suti dhara. So that means that those who can be hold the teachings, hold the words after they hear for one times. It's like a recorder. So Ananda, he was he and Buddha has agreement. The agreement was that Ananda said, I will become your attendant and I will take care of you forever. But I have one condition with you. My condition is that if I could not attend any of your teaching, please make sure those teaching should be told to me after you return at monastery. So sometime Ananda could not follow the Buddha. Maybe he has something to do in the temple, or he has something to do his personal stuff. So Buddha went everywhere and he teaching this place, that place, and Kushinada, Saranath, or Rajagir. So, but every time Buddha returned to this monastery, Buddha report to Ananda. He said, today I told about this teaching, today I talk about this teaching. So that's why every sutra we can say E Bang Me Sutang, or every sutra started, thus I have heard, thus I have heard. So in Pali we say Ebang Me Sutang, or Sanskrit Ebang Me Sutrang. So that Ananda always, this is from Ananda actually. Thus I have heard. When you see that this sutra started this way, that means it was mentioned by Ananda. So Ananda speak, thus I have heard. Once upon a time, the Buddha was teaching this place and that place, and he talked about this, some about 5 aggregates, for example. He talked about dependent origination. So Ananda, in the first Buddhist council, so Ananda repeated all of the teachings. So by this way, the sutra, all the teachings are collected and compiled. And I should not say compiled. Compiled, I think, is like a written tradition or writing, but it was collected, and a group of monks. So they have some way. It's called a Vanaka tradition. Like, for example, Ananda, he has his own disciple. So they take care the one teaching, like Digha Nikaya, the discourses of long discourses, middle land discourses. It was taken care by Sariputra and his disciple. So all the teachings, I mean, oral transmission, and we should grateful to them because we still get this teaching because of their contribution. And those people in the past, they truly work hard, and it's not easy to memorize all the sutra. So what Ananda has done, Ananda trained up his disciple, and he makes sure before he entered into nirvana or he passed away, some of his disciple able to memorize the discourses. So, and in the same way, some other disciple like Anuruddha Thera, he told his people that, okay, you are a group of my student, so now this is your job to transmit, to hold this teaching and to preserve the teaching. Like we can say the oral transmission that it is also known as Vanaka tradition. According to the Pali and Sanskrit, Vanaka, that means some group of teaching, some group of monks that take care of the teachings for many hundred years until the written transmission start. Actually, it says that even the Buddha's, from the Buddha's time to until the Ashoka's time, in between the time is about 300 years. So within the 300 years, the teaching was preserved by the monks, Bhanaka, like the monks who memorized the teachings. But when the Ashoka's period, the time of Emperor Ashoka, the tradition of written scripture appeared. So that time, the teaching was preserved on pillar edict or rock edict. It was later on. But initial period, it was so difficult, but we should be grateful to these people that all the scholar monks and elder people, elder monks and scholars, they preserve the teaching by sharing the oral transmission. So as we know that in the excuse me, as you know that the Tripitaka means the 3 baskets of Pitaka or 3 baskets of Dharma. The holy scripture of the Buddhism is mentioned as Tripitaka, and like a Bible for Buddhism. So Tripitaka is consist of the 3 baskets or three texts. So one is the sutra, like discourses. One is the Vinaya, or disciplines, and Abhidharma is a higher doctrine. Interestingly, in the first Buddhist council, only Dharma and Vinaya, the teaching and the discipline, were preserved. There was no Abhidharma. In the first Buddhist council and second Buddhist council, we cannot find the appearance of Abhidharma. But yeah, it was a bit controversy, and a lot of criticism between the Buddha, and a lot of question. It was whether the Buddha taught Abhidharma or not. However, in the first Buddhist council, Ananda, he contributed to compile all the discourses, and Upali, another monk, he he contributed to collected the Vinaya rules, all the discipline. As you know that monks has 227 precepts. I mean for bhikkhu, and for bhikkhuni, female nun, and they have 431 precepts. So female has more precepts than male. So I think so female to become a bhikkhuni for female, I think it's not easier. But I understand that more both discipline, male and female, almost same. But the main teachings are about the Vinaya is all about the four parajikas, like four serious offenses for the Sangha. So four parajikas, Upali was confirmed, and these four parajikas are: number one, abstain from sexual misconduct; number two, refrain from stealing, so avoiding all the stealing; number three, of course, not to commit any murder. A monk cannot commit any murder. Of course, killing is prohibited. Killing is not allowed in the following the path of in the noble eightfold path. Killing is not allowed. And number four, it is very important part, important one, not to declare stages of pure mental concentration that have not achieved. So that means if any monk claimed that I understood, or I have a clear mind, or I am entering in the jhana state or the state of the pure concentration, but he is not attended. He is pretending that, and he's speaking a lie. And if he said that, if any monks or nuns claim that he had a clairvoyance or he had some supernatural power, he can see the other's mind, or he can understand, he can be, he can be fly, or he can do something else, but he is not like this. If he claim in that way, he cannot be claim himself whether he is a monk or nun. So this kind of things should not be done, and it is called as the four main serious offenses for the sangha. Actually, many people, according to the Indian culture in the past, a lot of people they're looking for some supernatural power, like a supernatural I mean some kind of extraordinary they're looking for flying monks. I think you heard many of you heard this concept, like flying monks. A monk can fly, or someone can be go to the from this universe to another universe. Actually, we don't know whether it is true or wrong. True, I mean, we have no idea. But Buddha and his disciple and his teaching was strongly said that a monk should not be speaking that way, and one should not enter into the path for the supernatural power. They should enter into the path for clearing and purifying his mind, and to eradicate his defilements, not for obtaining some supernatural power. So it is the path is very clear, and Buddha's disciple of the Buddha and the Buddha clearly mentioned that you shall not be dealt in that way. So there is the one monk during the time of the Buddha. His name was Devadatta. He was a cousin of the Buddha. Actually, he was very he liked to fight with the Buddha. Even he entered into Sangha, but he liked to claim that he's the someone else and he's very important disciple of the Buddha, and another monk should follow him, and he liked to get his leadership over the Sangha. So Devadatta, he liked to show some extraordinary power, like he can fly or something, blah blah blah, to his other people for impress the others. So Buddha was told him that he committed to parajika. That means he committed one of the serious offenses. So you cannot be monk anymore. So Buddha, even time of the Buddha, and he was a very he clearly mentioned that one should not speak and one should not telling in that way. And another thing, it is very important. Even when you go to the practice and meditation or retreat center, it mentioned by any Theravada teacher as well. If someone practices meditation very well, and maybe for certain period, he has the moment of jhana or moment of happiness, of deep concentration. But it is for certain people. But if someone speaking like that, I have this moment for jhana or concentration and I mean the rapture or inner rapture for longer period, and I'm holding this teaching. I mean this moment. Speaking lie, it is completely. I mean, it's not appreciated in the teaching of the. So then Buddha and his disciple, the noble disciples, always tell the others, please don't do this way. And what you understand, what you observation, just speak, just share the right one, but don't be try to attach to speak to share something very which doesn't which means like you have a some kind of the extraordinary power like Superman power. So so these things are very well discussed and in the first Buddhist council as well. And Upali, the disciple of the Buddha, he was expertise known as the expertise of the Vinaya or discipline, and he discussed this matter very well. And in the first Buddhist council, also, it was identified a few monks who had a wrong talk and harsh speech, and who has a divisive speech. So, in the first Buddhist council, those monks are abandoned. Those monks expelled. I should say expelled from the sangha. So it was very successful meeting, and the council was, as you know, the council was held for 3 months in Rajagriha, and King Ajatasattu was patronized this council. So in the first Buddhist council, I mean, we can we can see that some all the chief disciple, all the elder disciple of the Buddha, they took the major decision and responsibility to protect and preserve the teachings so that the teaching will not be disappear, since they did not have written way to preserve the tradition. So for me, like it is very amazing, like Bhanaka tradition and oral transmission and recitation, all the sutra. I don't know how they would done it, but this tradition is still continued by some other monks in Myanmar. It's very famous for protecting this tradition. So Myanmar has still have a 9 chief monks who can be uh, memorized all of the text of Tripitaka. So I don't know that I mean how effective it is, but Buddha said in Dhammapada, according to Dhammapada, he said that instead of reciting 100 verses, if someone can recite one verse with his own understanding, proper understanding, it is more beneficial than knowing the 100 or 1,000 verses. So it was mentioned in Dhammapada, and Dhammapada is one of the very well-known text in the chapter of thousands. So first Buddhist Council, as we mentioned, that again going back in the first Buddhist Council, that Dharma and Vinaya was well preserved, and the division of Sangha was stopped. And division of Sangha, it was even the Buddha's time, it happened. Mostly Devadatta, the cousin brother of the Buddha, he was the one actually who led this kind of the unwholesome action. So Buddha was since it happened in presence of the Buddha, he successfully dominated. I mean, he successfully not. I should not say the word dominate. He successfully handled this problem and make the sangha very peaceful and harmony. So Buddha you speak the one term. Let me say let me tell this one. Dwelling in harmony is always brings wholesome, So Sangha means noble community. The community should live in harmony and peacefully. And they should share each other their feeling, whether it is right or wrong. But Devadatta, he had a he is actually not very good intentional monk. He had a he has a wrong intention. So Buddha said that Devadatta's mind was obsessed by 8 worldly matters. So 8 worldly matters is known as gain and loss, praise and blame, good reputation and bad reputation, evil ambition and evil friendship. Even these 8 worldly matters, can be you can observe in the present moment. You can see that some people are looking for their life. They're looking for only gain. They like the title, they like the wealth, and some people have a fear that maybe they can be lose their what they have. So it's normal actually. It's a human 8 worldly matters. It's a common for human beings, and some people are very looking for. I mean, they always like to appreciate the praise, and they're looking for praise by others. And some people they are very fear that whether if maybe they can be blamed by others. So same like good reputation, bad reputation, or evil friendship, or evil ambition. So these all are a part of the 8 worldly matters in this in our life. We can see about this kind of thing. So Buddha mentioned Devadatta, whose mind was full of 8 worldly matters, so that he was so jealous to the Buddha, and that's why he wanted to take take over the leadership of the noble sangha, and he would like to claim that he's the leader of this group. And there's another thing actually, another thing, like Devadatta had 5 proposals uh, to the Buddha and his disciple. The proposal was that it was actually very interesting. Let me read this. Number one is the monk should dwell in the forest. So it is Devadatta's proposal. Actually, it's not. Buddha said that according to Buddha, it's not important. Whether you have to live in forest or lay life, you still have potential to become enlightenment. So you are going to forest for meditation. You have some reason. Maybe you are working with you fear. Maybe you are working. You like to work with close to the nature. Maybe this way you can be like to healing and to get rid of your suffering. Maybe this way you can be uh, develop your practice of meditation, of mind or mental statement. So Devadatta, Buddha did not say absolutely that one needs to live into the forest to obtain uh, the path. So Buddha did not agree with this proposal. And number two, the monk should receive alms through begging. So Buddha also did not accept this idea. Actually, the monks means like bhikkhu or bhikkhu. The word bhikkhu is another meaning. It's like beggar or begging. Actually, they say begging. The monks as a bhikkhu or bhikkhuk, like because monks go for alms round, and that they're not attached to the household life. So according to the Indian tradition, they have a I mean, those who renounce the worldly matter, they are known as a monk, bhikkhu or bhikkhuni. So the renounce means they renounce their world, their family, the household to homeless. So they are noticed as bhikkhu. Actually, this is the main concept to become a monk or nun. So Buddha did not accept this idea. Like he can, if the monks only the based on the begging, it is a bit difficult too to survival for the monk, because um, I mean go for alms round for every day. Maybe sometimes it's not possible. Maybe some monks are sick. Maybe some monks are busy with their own practice. So for them, it's not possible to go for alms round for every morning. So so Buddha rejected this idea. And another one idea is that the monk should dwell under the trees. So Buddha also rejected in the same way, like, it's not important. You have to live in the forest. You can make your own forest at your home. You can make your own environment in your own place. It depends on you. So like Chatanaha Bhikkave, Karmam Badami, like all intention leads the wholesome and unwholesome. So through the intention, you can develop your practice. It's not important whether I need to go forest or I need to go into the meditation retreat or I need to go to the certain group. It depends. Everything depends on mind. And Buddha said that I cannot savior to you, but the teaching I offer to you, this can guide you along the way. So so the Devadatta's all the five proposals was rejected by the Buddha. So by this way, he successfully handled the spirit of the division of noble sangha. And in the first Buddhist council, it was discussed. So it was also discussed that what happened throughout the 45 years of the Buddha's journey. And through the discussion, the monks they divided into the five groups or five nikayas. Five nikaya means the text, five tradition. So Digha Nikaya, we can see Majjhima Nikaya, or Majjhima Nikaya means the middle land discourses. Sanyutta Nikaya, the verses of prayers. Anggutta Nikaya, and that we can see Kuddaka Nikaya, and also we can see Vinaya. All the teachings are preserved. It was very successful meeting and successful council, and all the 500 participants, monks, enthusiastically participate this council, and they contributed to protect all the teachings along the way. So it was done. It was happened first Buddhist council 3 months later. So then second Buddhist council, it is actually another important council. So may I ask that at this point, do you have any question or anything? It will be wonderful to listen the feedback.
I do have a question.
Yeah, yes,
Can you hear me good? What about the minor Nikaya, the Kadukam Nikaya? What's the tradition say about its preservation at the first council?
Well, the preservation of the council actually, Majjhima Nikaya is middle land discourses. It was basically preserved by Shariputra, one of the chief disciples of the Buddha, and his disciples. Actually, Shariputra was passed away before the Buddha's demise. So since the Shariputra's disciple was attended into the council, so they take care of this tradition to preserve. And Kuddaka Nikaya initially, it's a good question actually. Thanks for asking this question. In the first Buddhist council, we know about the Kuddaka Nikaya, but we did not know there were 15 texts of Kuddaka Nikaya. It was there or not. We don't have idea. And Dhammapada is a part of Kuddaka Nikaya, and Dhammapada is a very nice collection, and it was collected all the important verses from all other texts. So my professor, my own teacher, Professor Kapila Avevangsa, my very respected professor, he said that monks use Dhammapada. Maybe it is a very skillful way, like they have a hand diary. Someone have a diary. So maybe they used to go for Dhamma talk. They like to keep a note, some verses. So they just write down here, and they categorized this way. Maybe it came like 500 to 600 years later after the Buddha's passed away, but it was not exactly in the mainstream Kuddaka Nikaya. But earlier in the Kuddaka Nikaya, it was discussed like Patisandhi Vijnana. Like for example, it means like a rebirth and relinking consciousness. It was discussed. And in the Kuddaka Nikaya, you can see Udana. Udana means Udana is one of the fantastic texts. It talking about after the Buddha's enlightenment, what happened to him. And in Udana, we can see that the teaching of dependent origination, both forwarding and reversing order. And also that you can see that in Kuddaka Nikaya, another very interesting thing, Vishuddhi Marga, as you know, the Vishuddhi Marga, the path of purification, one text, it was compiled in 5th century. And sorry, Milinda Panha, or the questions of King Milinder and his, it was also compiled in between the 2nd century to the 4th century, during the time of Kushan period. So those texts included into Kuddaka Nikaya according to Myanmar tradition, and some of the Sri Lankan tradition too. Later on, PTS, Pali Text Society, they also included Kuddaka Nikaya as they said that okay, it should be under the Kuddaka Nikaya. And the 6th council happened in 1956 in Myanmar. They also agreed that okay, this text will be added into the Kuddaka Nikaya.
So a lot of the minor texts were added later.
A lot of minor texts added later.
A lot of them, okay, all right. And
Right.
okay, and many of them were compiled from the other texts.
Other texts,
Yeah.
mainstream sutra. But another interesting thing is that let me tell. We did not have a commentary until Venerable Buddhaghosa appeared in the 5th century. The commentarial text was not recorded in the 1st council and 2nd council. We cannot see any commentary and sub-commentaries. Only the sutra, that's mainstream, just quoting this important text, but no explanation, not enough explanation. So commentary tradition came from the 5th century to the 10th century, mostly in Pali commentary. After Venerable Buddhaghosa, from India, he go to the Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka, they contributed Pali tradition. And I would like to say another thing. It may be the question. It may be the have a question that whether Buddha speak Pali or not, is the Buddha's language or not. Actually, according to history, Pali was not a language of the Buddha. But Sri Lankan tradition, they claim that Pali is a Buddha Bhashita, like mean the words of the Buddha. But it is the words of the Buddha, but the language of Pali, it was later on, a scholar compiled and they formulated this language. And during the time of the Buddha, there was no written language. So the local language was Prakrit language. Prakrit. So and another scholar, they say Magadhi Prakrit language. Magadhi Prakrit language. So Pali is the later edition of Magadhi Prakrit language. But of course, Sanskrit language was there. Sanskrit was very oldest language, and this language is the root of all the Indian languages. So it is interesting. Buddha refused to speak Sanskrit because Sanskrit was used by only Brahmin people, who is educated and scholar people. So those language could not reach to the normal ordinary people. So Buddha said that my Dharma, I should use the language is for everyone so that they can understand. So not for the elite society. Everyone, ordinary being could do this. So we can see that another strong evidence we can find that it was not Pali actually, but because the Ashokan pillar scripture, pillar structure, and rock edict, Ashoka came. Ashoka's period started 250 years later after the Buddha's passed away. So during the time, all the pillar inscriptions we can see in Brahmi scripture, Brahmi language. Mostly it is the Prakrit language, and another version of Magadhi Prakrit language. But later on, we can see that those teaching into the Pali, but it came after many years later, actually, not exactly that period. But interestingly, Pali was not a spoken language in any time. It was only for written, only for particular. And maybe in the history of maybe it is in the world history, Pali is the only one language, only for Buddhist, only one group, one school, only for Buddhist literature compiled into this language.
So it was used for the transmission of the scriptures.
Yes.
It was developed for the transmission of the scriptures.
It was developed from the transmission of the scriptures. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and also that I would like to say that many times you can heard from mostly about the Sri Lankan, some of our teachers, so they like to say that Pali was a Buddha Bhasita, because Sri Lankan language is very close to Pali language as well, very close. The Sri Lankan language came from Pali, but it's pride somehow, it's pride, and they show that as a nationalism, it's pride too. But interestingly, that when you go to the root, the structure, you can see exact scenario like Prakrit, Magadhi Prakrit, Ardha Prakrit. Then you can see Pali language, and from Pali, my language, my country language, the Bangladeshi language, Bengal language, it also came from Pali actually. So, yeah. So
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Any other?
It was very, very helpful. Thank you.
So, okay, so that means that I can go ahead to the second council. But so now you can see that for understanding, first in between the first Buddhist council and the second Buddhist council, it was 100 years, gap. So within 100 years, so many things happen. Actually, it is the nature of the tradition. Like everything changing, even the teaching is changing. So we learned something from our master, our teacher, and when I started teaching this teaching to my teacher, my students, so maybe I have to be changed to different ways. So teachings are changing. So in between the first council and the second council, it was 100 years gap. In this 100 years, so many things happened, and Sangha was already started to be a bit, they're misleading and they're manipulated somehow. So, during the second council, what happened? Second council, it was the Magadha. In the time of Magadha in Bajji, the Republican state of Bajji. In the time, so monks practiced some kind of discipline which is not exactly the coherent to the mainstream practice of the Buddhist path. So they say that one of the monk, he named Yasha Thera or Josh Thera. He was very elder monk, and he observed that the monks from Bajji from Boishali, they practice the 10 unlawful disciplines. So these are like let me read some of the discipline. The monks can store salt in a horn. So horn, and from the cow or buffalo, the horn. In the horn, people are preserve the salt. So monks storing the salt in the horns. Actually, salt is very valuable, valuable materials for our daily digest. But what's happened? Since you have a path for renunciation, so it doesn't make sense that if we start to preserve the salt or money or some other things for your life, like a normal life. So monks start to preserve the salt into the horn. It could not make a very good appeal for others. I mean, for those who have a completely path for renunciation, and they follow the path of detachment as well. So they have to worry when you start to preserve the salt into the horn. They have to worry. Oh, today maybe my salt is go down, and I need to get more salt. I have to protect more salt. And salt is very important material and very expensive in that time, because in the middle of the India, I mean Magadha, this land like Magadha or North Indian, there's no sea. The salt came from sea water. It's very far, and so that monks are a kind of like going to like a business mentality. And another rules is that monks can take meal after midday. So according to the Buddhist monks, they don't eat food after midday, because they follow most of the time they follow the 1 day 1 meal. When you go, if you this tradition, you still can see in the Southeast Asia, in Thailand, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia. They're following this tradition way. They follow this 1 day 1 meal. So that has some reason actually. Actually, food is like a Buddha said, food like a medicine. You take food as a medicine, but it's not anti like it's not for digest. Actually, it is related to the biological fact as well because their monks should spend their time, they have their dignity to for their own practice to develop their own mind, and if they spend eating the dinner, so sometimes it's not healthy. So sometimes it's if you want to eat the dinner, so monks, since the monks are not cooking the food at in the temple, that depends on food from others. So they need to preserve the food after the alms round. So they have the mind of about the preservation, and so many matters you can see when you can eat the food. But of course, if you are sick, if any monks are sick, they're allowed to eat food as medicine. That is different point. But for the young, for deep practitioner, it should not be eat food. I mean, should not eat like a lay person or normal household life because they follow the household to the homeless path or renunciation. Their path is to be obtaining to nirvana or to eradicate all sort of suffering, and their journey from attachment to detachment. So they're completely detachment. So that's why that there are some rules which can help them to follow the path exactly. And some of the monks uh, they started to accept the gold, silver. So it was their currency. So gold and silver instead of money, instead of printing paper. So it was for exchange rate in the time of in the past. So all the things are it was noted as a 10 unlawful law, unlawful disciplines. So it was noticed by elder Yashatera, and he told to the Vaishali monks that these monks, you should not do this way. You are following as a monk because you have to do the renunciation, the path of renunciation. So those monks get very arrogant. They did not want to accept. And also that I would like to say that another thing, since the popularity of the Buddhist teaching was spreading all around India, so some people ordain as a monk as a fake monk because they're lazy. They don't want to do the normal. And normally monks are supported by the local people and the kings. So that is another reason. All the fake monks, they just take a fake ropes and and begging and alms down and just collecting money and silvers. They just do that their own way of life. So it was very it was noticed, and the sangha was corrupted somehow. Some it doesn't seem good. So those who is a monk, they should not. Their path is renunciation. They are doing the path of renunciation, not into the fake or artificial way. So anyway, so it happened actually. So when Elder Yashatera he saw this incident, so he reported to other monks, such as Venerable Devata, one of the elder monk, and he asked that we have to do something, and what can we do? So they remember the incident 100 years ago. What happened in the time of the Buddha and after Buddha's Mahaparinirvana, when the Sangha started to split, what happened to them? So then, yeah, so then they call for council, and 700 monks, it says all the 700 monks are Arahat or enlightened monks. They attended this council, and it held in the Vaishali, Balukarama, under the patronage of King Kalashoka. Actually, King Kalashoka is one of the great grandfather of King Ashoka. But he's not the founder of Mauryan dynasty, but he has they have a blood connection. I mean, the lineage. So so in Boshali, 100 years later, the council was held. So in this council, the 10 undisciplined laws was discussed. And during this council, um, similar to the first Buddhist council, Dharma, the teaching, and Vinaya, both are recorded. And interestingly, in the first council, in the second council, yes, first council and second council, only Dharma and Vinaya, but we cannot see, still we cannot see Abhidharma. But unfortunately, after the second council, the Sangha was split actually. It says that they split it into the two main schools. One is about the Stavitavada and Mahasangika. And from the two schools, 18 schools appeared. And it is from the 18 school, when you go to the 18 school, when you discuss, you can see that slowly the term Theravada came, and term Mahayana came, and the term Vajrayana came. Those are all later on addition. So we can see that one thing, from the time of the Buddha to until second Buddhist council, we can say it is we can categorize as early Buddhism or non-sectarian tradition. It was not much sectarian, not much many schools. Only the one, they're only talking about Dharma and Vinaya. So last century, maybe not, yes, in the late 18th century, when the Miss Rhys Davis and founder of a Palitech Society came to India and went explored to this history of Buddha's teaching, and they mentioned that from the time of the Buddha to until the second council, as an early Buddhism, it is the early period of the Buddha's teaching, and those teaching are non-sectarian, and not many schools have appeared during that time. So those teachings somehow like a pure lineage, and so similar to the first Buddhist council, second Buddhist council also took an important role to preserve the Dharma, or to preserve the Vinaya as well. So in the second council happened according to the scripture, we can know that like Chullavarga, Chullavarga, and also Samantapasadika. Samantapasadika is a commentary of Digha Nikaya, the long discourses. So in this text, we can see the little reference that about first Buddhist council and second council. Both council, monks contemplate, and scholars also contemplate to protect the teachings, to protect the mainstream sutras, and they recite all the sutras, and they also recite all the Vinaya rules, because Vinaya are the like ornaments for monks or monastic practice. So that's why first Buddhist council and second Buddhist council, those are truly played important roles. Provide the various insights, and they help us actually. Still now we get this teaching, and because of their contribution. And the first Buddhist council and second Buddhist council, and monks have a tremendous job because they keep the teaching in their mind. Oral transmission. They protected all the teachings by oral transmission, and they make sure the disciple make sure they train some other disciple who can hold the teachings before they passed away. And by this way, they preserve the teachings for 300 years, since the Buddha's time from passed away until the time of the period of the Ashokan period, when the written scriptures appeared. So I hope that today it can make some sense. So is any kind of discussion, then I welcome to ask any questions. Is there any kind of insight that you'd like to ask?
Sanjay, I just was wondering, when you look through the suttas, the Nikayas specifically, of course we're hampered by the fact of the types of translation and how difficult it is for some of these terms. But you definitely get a feeling that some of them just have a slightly different flavor, if you will. They in my mind, they almost seem older. Like some of the Digha Nikaya suttas seem very much like trying to tell the story and being maybe even a little proselytization of the sect there. And did you have any insight into how the suttas were divided up into these various books? I mean, obviously things like the numerical verses, you could see how they would all be fit together. But beyond that, was it really strictly things like the length, or was there anything in terms of the timing of during the period of the 40 years when they were actually recited?
Well, yeah, it's a good question actually. When you go to the like numerical terms like Anguttara Nikaya, numerical discourses, shorter text or shorter text arranged thematically, something. So from Samyutta Nikaya, when you go this way, like yeah, we can see there's some systematic manner. Anguttara Nikaya, you can see, I think it's based on the compiled the text and they compile the teaching based on the some context and the depth of the teaching. So Anguttara Nikaya, you can see the chapter of the one, everything talking about the only one part, the main things. Chapter of the two, everything, the main things, main key points of the teaching are two. Like for example, in the chapter of the two, we can see that what the Buddha taught. The Buddha said that I taught only two things. One is the origin of suffering, and one is the cessation of suffering. And in the chapter 4, we can see that. Chapter 3, we can see that something about the related to the three things. What is the three poisons? We can know that greed, hatred, delusions. So in this way, like chapter 8, we can know the 8 worldly matters. We can see from that, from this side. So Anguttara Nikaya is have like a chapter 1, 2, 3, like 7, 8, 9, 10 until the maybe 11 probably, 11 to 12 probably, if I'm not wrong. So they compiled the some manner the in depth of the teaching, and we can see the Digha Nikaya. Digha Nikaya, all the discourses are very long discourses, and that's why they say Digha is a longer length, the discourses of length. And in the discourses, most of the discourses actually was Ananda and his disciple that contributed for Digha Nikaya. So the nature of this text is all the long discourses. Majjhima Nikaya, shorter discourses, is a bit shorter. And you can see that nature of the discourses are a bit shorter and in brief explanation. And Samyutta Nikaya too. Samyutta Nikaya, but it's shorter than Majjhima Nikaya. But Majjhima Nikaya is still bigger. It's longer if I compare it with Samyutta Nikaya. And Khuddaka Nikaya, it is a collection of 15 texts, and each of the texts have some certain topic. For example, like as we discussed about Dharmapada, it is also a set of collection of all the wisdom verse and provided by the Buddha and sometimes his disciple as well. And another text is about Udana, after what happened after the Buddha's enlightenment. His insight was collected in Udana text. Then we can say the Patisambhida Vijnana, like it's talk about the reward consciousness or reward karma and reward. And we came to know from this text about the 3 types of consciousness. One is the relinking consciousness, reward consciousness, and another one is Patisandhi Vijnana, consciousness. Yeah. So a lot of, it is based on the nature of the teaching. I think all the texts are appeared, and Vinaya, you can see all the discipline, all the monastic codes, and in the Vinaya commentary, it mentioned about the climax and context, why this Vinaya was mentioned by the Buddha, and what was happened between the monks and the other monks from the other schools. So yeah, I think and Abhidharma text came later actually. Abhidharma, we came to know Abhidharma systematically from the Third Buddhist Council. So we will discuss Third Buddhist Council in the next week. So in Abhidharma, we cannot see the First Buddhist Council and Second Buddhist Council. So in the Abhidharma literature, it's based on the psychology. It was the psychological aspect of the mind, and it is Eastern psychology, you can say as well too. So yeah, all the texts, I think you are right that maybe they follow the one systematic manner. I hope that.
I do have a question again.
Yeah, please.
Are we to assume, or should we assume?
I don't know much about the text. Okay, well, anyway, I was saying I don't know much about the scriptures, but for instance, all I know is like Heart Sutra. Like Heart Sutra is something is that.
Well, yeah, Heart Sutra. It is written in Sanskrit, Heart Sutra, Prasna Paramita Sutra, Heart Sutra, Hridaya Sutra. It's all a later on tradition. All are we cannot see that in the mainstream sutra actually. It is we cannot say. But the sutra is written in Sanskrit, Sanskrit language. So now it can have a question like there's a question that whether this sutra was really taught by the Buddha or not. Exactly, we don't know. But we cannot find the existence of Heart Sutra or Prasna Paramita Sutra in the mainstream the sutra like Pali tradition. And Prasna Paramita Sutra, we know that there is many versions. Japanese have one version of them, a few versions, and Chinese have their own version too. So we have to understand one thing, like Buddhism arrived to China during the time of Kushan period. So every century of the people understanding is not same to the later on century. And 2000 years before and the present moment, it's not same. Like now we really like to taking the class Revelation of Mind, or Dr. Richard is teaching the Sartre's limits, Richard's Land's limit. This teaching of Abhidharma, modern Abhidharma teachings. So every teachings are not same. I mean, of course, the concept is same, but teachings, is the material, the changing. So Prasna Paramita Sutra or Heart Sutra and all the sutra, I mean, they're all later on compilation. And mostly we can find that Kumarajiva's translation. Kumarajiva is about, he lived during the time of the King Kanishka. Not Kanishka, Kushan period. Kushan period. So Kumarajiva was one of the very incredible translator who came from Kashmir and invited to translate text in China. The time frame about maybe nearly 7th century to the 8th century. It's all after later on tradition. Then from the Kumarajiva's translation, you can see the one version of Prasna Paramita Sutra as well and Heart Sutra as well. But his sutras are amazing, wonderful. You can say all the terms, like for example, like gate para sangate bodhisattva. Gate, thus who gone, thus who has gone, thus who has gone beyond. So these all are like in a very poetic way, amazing way, and the concept of nirvana, like as you say, thus who has gone. Or another term, we say tathagata, agata. So Pali and Sanskrit, the word Sanskrit, we said one word, you can have a different meaning, tatha plus agata, or tatha agata. So when you say agata, thus who has never come back or returned. Gata means thus who has gone. So tathagata, thus who has gone. Tatha agata, thus who has never returned. But it's all the same meaning, but it's a linguistic, they have some rhythm and they play with the language. Ancient scholar. I hope So any more insight?
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, please.
Should we assume that that the scriptures that we have on the four main books
Yeah.
are as they were preserved in the first council, or was there continued development of those suttas after the council?
Yeah, actually, based on this council and their decision and this text, later on they develop. Actually, both based on those teaching, we cannot whatever teaching you can find from present day moment, like Theravada tradition or Mahayana tradition, even many Abhidharmic literature, the nature of all the teachings are almost same: compassion, loving kindness, non-self, or dependent origination. They talk about this, and Eightfold Noble Path, Four Noble Truths, Four Foundation of Mindfulness. Let's not go beyond this kind of things, So yeah, but based on the text from first Buddhist Council and second Buddhist Council, later on the teaching evolved. And for your information, that during the time of Nalanda period, there's so many texts and so many traditions extraordinarily developed, and there are so many agreement and disagreement too. And as you know that Nagarjuna, one of the very eminent scholar, appeared in he was lived in the 2nd century. So Nagarjuna, he said the term sarva drishti praharana sunyatam tam prachapmahe. He used the term the sunyata, like emptiness. And he said that sunyata, he used the term to elimination from all the sarva drishti, all the views, wrong views. And he also, in his teaching, like in his text Mula Madhyamaka Karika, he mentioned that he refuted the Abhidharma literatures, Abhidharma teachings. The time when the Abhidharma Abhidharma tradition evolved very highly, and at the time we can see that Theravada Abhidharma, of course, Sarvastivada Abhidharma, not a very pioneer group. They have very strong lineage, and that dominate like for nearly 400 or 500, 400 to 500 years in India, and still the teaching we can see that in Tibetan tradition as well and Chinese too. But Nagarjuna, he refuted all this teaching, Abhidharma tradition, but he did not refute the mainstream Dharma of the Buddha's teaching. Then you can see he said that his dedicated verse is very common verse and very prominent, very respected by the present leading Sangha. In the dedicated verse of Mula Madhyamaka Karika, Nagarjuna said, Aniruddham Anutpadam Anuchedam Aswasvatam Anekartam Anakartam Anagamam Anirgamam Ya Pratitya Samutpadam Prapancha Pasmam Sivam Dasa Yasamsa Sambuddhastam Tambhakta Badadambaram. That means I venerated to the Buddha who realized the teaching of dependent origination. So from the bottom of the heart, I offer my sincere gratitude to the Buddha. But the Buddha is the one who offered the teaching of not coming, not going, not ceasing, not arising, all 8 negations. He find all the teachings, main thing from the mainstream sutra, and he compared the middle way, dependent origination, as the part of the middle way, or Majjhima Patipada, this way. So all the teachings you can see that but they don't go. If you understand, if we can see that very clearly, very carefully, we can see that every discourse, every teaching are close to the mainstream teachings, early Buddhism. Like 3 characteristics, talking about the origin of suffering, a cessation of suffering, non-self, and dependent origination, Eightfold Noble Path, that's the thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you for everyone. So I think that I take a little bit longer time. So I wish to everybody, I can see everyone next week. So according to, since I followed, this is the very ancient teaching we are studying. So let me allow that before I end, to have a blessing chanting one. So according to Theravada tradition, we follow this one. Bhavato sabba mangalang rakkanto sabba devata sabba buddhanu bhavena sada sutte bhavantu te. Bhavato sabba mangalang rakkanto sabba devata sabba dharmanu bhavena sada sutte bhavantu te. Bhavato sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba sangano bhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.